Hey everyone, and welcome to Contenders South America Week 3. I'm going to be your host for the day. I'm Green Havoc. I've got a couple of big brain, no forehead analysts here to break down all of the games for the day. And we're going to go ahead and introduce our analysts real quick. We've got Norai Mizuki, and we have LaFawn. And I'm really excited to have both of you here, especially for this first game, because it's going to be a big one. First off, how are we doing?
I mean, it's a great day for South American contenders and therefore Overwatch and therefore the world. I'm actually super excited because this first matchup, as you kind of highlighted, base tryhards versus the Suquinho Nation should be a really good one. Some little things changed up this last week, and I'm pretty excited to get into it.
Hell yeah, this guy, he knows what's up. South American Contenders is going to be pretty damn spicy today. Some big matches coming up. I'm really excited to jump into it with you guys.
Wonderful, wonderful. And you brought up our first match. We've got the base tryhards versus the Suquinho Nation, and I'm super excited to get into this one because we've got a team that has had some roster changes. The tryhards are gonna have to try hard today because one of their players is, well, tryharding at the highest level. They're off to the Overwatch League. And I'll let the analysts break down who that is and what that move might make in a second. And on the other side for TSN, they're still a little unproven. They still have some questions to be answered, but this is the moment that they could step up and make something big. And again, one of our analysts here will get into that in just a second. So I gotta ask, which analyst wants to speak up first and kind of, tell this narrative for one of these teams?
I mean, you got to look at base tryhards here as they're sort of the incumbent. They're the one who is basically the absolute monster of South America. And when changes happen to this team, you gotta keep your eyes on them. So I have to say, we did see, of course, Klaus leave last week. He did get picked up by Uprising Academy. So that's one player who was taken off that roster. They only played one game with him in an official match in Contender. Nonetheless, that's still a change. They bring Dudu back into that DPS position, so they're playing their second week with Dudu at that DPS. But I think the point that you highlighted, and is actually a little bit more important here, is that that Alamang, he's the support player, the Lucio, the shot caller for BTH formerly, and he has been picked up by Boston Uprising proper. So he is, of course, now an Overwatch League player. And for base tryhards, they have some massive shoes to fill, and they've brought Wings in on that support place. They're bringing him in for that Lucio play. So I'm really interested to see how he performs because, again, when you talk about a support playing for at the Overwatch League caliber, or they bring up to an Overwatch League team, you got to think those are some massive shoes to fill. And for Wings, this is going to have to be his.
And I mean, we shouldn't forget about Klaus, who left very recently due to taking up the mantle, and we mentioned last week, due to seeming like the odd one out. So now they've lost two of their main players, their biggest impact players on the team, the shot caller, the main DPS. They've brought in some new players, and that's really going to change their dynamic a lot. We've seen it already with Dudu. Now we're going to see it with Alamang having left. I think it's going to be quite spicy, and they're going to have to do a lot to try and make up for that, because losing an in-game leader at this level can be devastating.
It has been said before that the most overpowered ability in Overwatch is good communication, and when you lose a shot caller, that can cause a lot of problems. So it's really going to put pressure on the rest of the team and the coaching staff, though I would hope that they knew this move was coming and that they had been preparing for it. But on the other side, as far as TSN goes, we saw a little, they looked great one week, they looked a little shaky the next. There's some questions in the roster, but again, this is the moment to be big and to prove something. So, Norai, tell me about this squad for TSN and what do they need to do today?
So like you said, TSN were looking really strong, and they were like our top contenders for second place until last week, They're still looking quite strong at the moment, and I feel like there's just a few things that they need to kind of bring to the table. Yes, there's a little bit of an advantage for them in that Based have lost their main DPS and shot caller, and that's something that they need to try and capitalize on. If you know that they've got a new shot caller, someone that's possibly not used to the role, not really sure how to do it correctly, not really synergizing as well with the team as previous players, that's really something that you can capitalize on. Get him down quickly, and the rest of the team is going to be like, what now? So that's going to be a huge point for them to try to exploit. They also pulled out some quad tank in the last game that we saw, which was really exciting, coming through with that Roadhog, which creates a lot of space for them. But I don't know how that's going to work against Based. Obviously, Based being such a good team, such an experienced team, this is clearly something that they probably will have prepared for. But I'm excited to see it because I think it's going to be nice to see a little bit of a change up in rosters. So this is going to be a good match to look out for, especially because of the differences that I've just highlighted. And I think that Suquinho, they're going to put up a good fight, and it's going to be difficult to predict who's going to come out really on top of this one.
All right. Well, on that note, I'm gonna ask the difficult question, and I'm gonna put my analysts in the hot seat. And chat, I will ask you the same question in just a little bit. But who is gonna win this game?
Base tryhards 4-0 this one. As much as I would like TSN to actually take this, and as much as I've been pumping up TSN, they had a strong week 1, a really weak week 2 though. And I think for this, as much as I would like TSN to make this competitive, base tryhards are just too good. Yeah, we highlighted the fact that, and I think this is just a contrast exactly how we're saying it. As much as I think that losing Alamong is huge, he's such a great support player. As much as losing Klaus is huge, I think he's a great DPS player. He's being replaced, of course, or he was replaced last week by by Dudu rather. And Lico's, of course, a monster in his own right. And then you look at the tank line, Honorato, Neil. There's nothing here that says to me that they are a weaker team to the point where other teams can exploit that. I think even though they've lost such massive parts of their team, a 4-0 is still very much in base tryhards' favor.
All right, but what about you? Are you pulling for maybe TSN here, Nori?
I think that it's going to be a pretty close matchup. Jules has been known to do a little bit of overextending on that Reinhardt, which could be quite difficult when it comes to that 1v1 matchup with Neil. And then, of course, there's a lot more flexibility than just one kind of team composition. I can see TSN taking 1 or 2 maps here, but I think it's tough. I see a final scoreline of 3-2, but which team it goes to is really difficult. But I am going to root for the underdogs here. Let's go. Suquinho Nation.
Okay, and see, there we go. I like this. We got analysts on both sides, and like I said, chat, I want to see those copy pastas in the old chat there. I want to know who you think's going to be winning this game. Now, for me, I got to skim over all of the notes. I got to listen to my analysts, so I get to be in the unfair position where I have the most information. So lucky me. I am actually also going to go with the tryhards, and that's just because of the system it looks like they have in place. They look like they're ready to have parts come in and out and continue their run. So I definitely think this is a window for TSM, but I really do think that the tryhards will pull it out. But before we head on to break, the last thing I want to ask is, other than the new players coming into the rosters, I want to know for tryhards, who's the player that needs to step up to make sure that they continue form?
I don't think. I mean, you have to look at Wings and say, okay, how is he going to slot into this roster? I think that's probably the only one that you really have to really think about. But for base tryhards, their entire team roster to this point has always been stellar. So I think for now, it's really just going to be the new guy and how well he comes into this roster and puts Mark in his place.
I think somebody that needs to step up, in my opinion, because I can't say that Wings needs to step up. I don't know what he's capable of. Maybe he's going to come in here and absolutely rock it. But somebody that did need to step up from last week was Dudu. Obviously, still stellar DPS, but in terms of the rest of the team, he wasn't quite there. It's been a week. They've been able to practice together, scrim together, get that synergy back where it needs to be, and I'm really hoping to see, because the matchup of him against Lubok and or Delavigne, that's going to be so amazing if Dudu's on point. That's what I'm really looking forward to.
All right. That's what I like to hear, though, is that we've got some players that can shove around, some players that can make some big plays, but ultimately it's about keeping the status quo. You've been the best team. Continue being the best team. Play with confidence and don't let the shuffle get to you. I like that, and hopefully that's what they've done. That would be the mark of a good coach and an even better team. So we will be right back as soon as we can to get this game underway. And we will see you in just a bit. All right, welcome back to the desk. I apologize for some technical issues that we were having, but the desk is here, and we're ready to start watching some Overwatch. If you're joining us now, we've got Lafon and Naurai, and I want to see some Overwatch. So we're not going to sit here at the desk too much longer. We've said our piece. We've made our picks. We're a little split. We've got some going for TSM. We've got some going for the tryhards. So it's time to introduce our casters. We've got Labasco and Hurix, and it is time to see some Overwatch, well, once they're done introducing themselves and breaking down from their perspective. Guys, on over to you.
Thank you very much for that one. Glad to have you with us. It's, of course, Labasco and Hurix here with you, getting ready for game number 1 of Contenders South America in this third week. We're going to have base tryhards versus the Suquinho Nation, eventually Hurix. But before we get to that, we've got to talk about some things that have happened here. Of course, starting off with base tryhards, we know already about Klaus going up to the Overwatch Contenders in North America, playing for the Uprising Academy, but his teammate in Wings and from base tryhard, or sorry, his teammate in Alamung being replaced by Wings because Alamung has gone up to the Boston Uprising, not a two-way contract or anything like that. He is on the actual Overwatch League roster. So a huge move happening for both, obviously, the Boston Uprising, but more importantly here for base tryhards. When you look at them going to this one here, I mean, how big of a loss is this?
I mean, our desk, I think, kind of hit the nail on the head in this regard. I mean, it is absolutely a big loss, but I agree with LaFon in that it's not one that they can turn quickly back around from. Losing Klaus, I think, was very, very big. That's a huge impact. Yes, he only really played about one game with them, but bringing Dudu back into the roster, I definitely thought Klaus was going to be the best fit overall long term if that was going to be the case. But nonetheless, Dudu still came in. They still got their 4-0, right? Now moving forward, they're going to be bringing in Alamung. I actually originally thought that they were going to bring in Desenio, and the reason being is that he was on this team for a long time. He's worked with Timate. He's worked with the rest of the team. He's been kind of the understudy of Alamung to some degree as well. So I thought that was probably going to be the direction they would go in. Instead, they bring in Wings. I actually really like this move. He brings a lot. I mean, he's definitely a veteran of this scene. He's brought a lot. He's going to bring a lot to this team for sure, and potentially a slightly different perspective, a different approach to some aspects that I think BGH and now base tryhards are they've gotten used to perhaps. But coming from a roster like Keep Gaming, which eventually kind of turned into the LFT Owl that we know today, versions of the Black Dragons esports roster that we saw back in season 1, and then also having a stint last season on Pain Gaming, Wings was a pretty solid Lucio, one that we didn't really talk about a lot, but always kind of quite consistent. And I think that's the good thing that he's going to bring to the table for this team as they go into Lijiang Tower for the first map is consistency. Bringing in consistency for this team is actually huge because of the fact that Alamung is gone. You need that consistency. And this is why I think that their approach today is mostly going to be one of plug and play. There's a lot of conversation going on right now is, what kind of things are we going to expect from base tryhards? Are they going to go the more DPS-centric route? Are they going to go, back to what they're used to? I think it's going to be a plug-and-play scenario. You just plug Wings back in there, run the same things that Alamung would have, and run pretty much the same strats, and I think they'll be just as successful as they were before.
And this is a team in base tryhards that is it's not like they're unfamiliar with Wings. They played against him a lot. In fact, one of their toughest games happened back in 2017 during the South American Overwatch Circuit Season 1 Division 1 games, where it was a 3-2 win for, at the time, base tryhards was called Brazil Gaming House. So, these are players that they've seen, at least as far as adversaries as well. So when you have that as something that you can go on, you know their ability, especially because we know how good of a team base tryhards is. And I think one thing to point out here too is while integrating Wings is one thing that's important, obviously Dudu now with that being the other switch, but not forgetting the players that are still here in Honoratu, Colero, and also Liko. I think Liko is somebody who kind of has been overlooked at times when you think about it as we go into the map here for these two. Obviously, though, Team Suquinho Nation wants to end all of that and put the stamp on this one with the now weakened team that we see in base tryhards.
The issue here is that even despite Caverna looking a lot better last week, Suquinho Nation really struggled in a matchup they should have won. And now going up against base tryhards, it's to be expected, I think, to some degree, that base tryhards is the team that is going to pull away from this one. But remember, Suquinho Nation was in that same position last week versus Caverna, and they were not able to hold out through that series.
You know that they're going to have a chip on their shoulder here for Suquinho Nation as they come into this one. Shooting the Rockets out and playing the Pharah is Delavigne. He did not have the greatest of weeks last week and wants to make amends for that. Quickly dealing out damage here. Lubach in with the right click onto Colero, so that rocket punch getting work here, but control of the point right now for base tryhards. Usually the team that takes the point first is the team that has the early advantage, but not letting that happen is Lubach as he's able to take down another support. So base tryhards in a tough position here, at least early on. Liko, though, able to find Ran Kyoshi, so the Mercy out of the sky can change things at least a little bit. And Liko continuing forward, but Jules on this wrecking ball, keeping it going, and then Liko getting thrown off the map there by the ball. But this point still hasn't flipped for either side, and the respawn is coming back in. Base tryhards might be able to take this back.
Tons of support going into Calero, and somehow they finally get that kill. Lubok still rampaging through this point until finally TSN does get control of this, so that will signal base tryhards to pull back, and that's their disengage. But quickly they opt to keep their keep Honorato with his mech. They're going to rather switch Calero off, and this is a good switch because so far Calero hasn't been able to do much of anything on Zen. Lubok has been just grinding away into him, Delavina as well, so I like the swap from them.
Delavigne almost has the barrage here as well. Have the meteor strike, and Delavigne quickly comes out with the barrage and finds to Honoratu. Able to get Jules in this fight, though, is the only thing. So still some opportunities maybe for base tryhards, but it's a losing battle at the moment. 31%. Honoratu and Dudu into that Graviton Surge. 2 players down in Negofist and Ran Kyoshi. The meteor strike in the air, looking for a target, goes on to the Diva. Diva wasn't close. Dudu getting close, being taken out, and a nice punch from Lubok will make that one happen. Back into the 4A, but the point still controlled by Suquinho Nation, even though base tryhards is starting to get some of these eliminations. The stall tactics coming out.
This is going to be so tough for them to get control of. Once again, base tryhards are definitely in the driver's seat here, but there it is. The re-engage coming in with the mines coming down as well as an availability.
Not to forget the nano boost that came in onto Jules as well. Have Delavigne still shooting in from that area. Out comes the coalescence from Calero, though, so base tryhards just trying to get control. 73% already built up to here. And now they finally do wrestle it away after 75%. So now maybe Suquinho Nation going to get back together and try and reconvene. It's so hard with the fair to try and get back control.
Now you have to wonder, how are they actually going to get that control back for TSN, right? I mean, they have a lot of lethality with this composition, a lot of disruption with this composition, but for the most part, base tryhards are going to be able to stick together, and especially if they can do that, if they're not going to be separated and isolated out, BTH can hold out here almost forever. I mean, incessantly, even with the rockets coming, looming above them. Honorado can easily take him out as well. They don't have the Zarya to cluster them all together and get the kill that way either. So this is going to be very tough, I think, for TSN.
Graviton Surge thrown out here. Delavigne uses the barrage as well. Wings smartly holding on to his ultimate here. Uses it now after the barrage was over because nobody really was felled by it. So now a position here for base tryhards to continue building on this point, and they're winning this fight. So Wings so far so good on that Lucio.
They just need to make sure that they're maintaining the kill. This is all going to come down to Calero as well on this Moira. Just consistency, again, what we were talking about, particularly with those two, Calero and Wings, as they find one more kill. And quickly, this is looking like it's going to tie up rather fast. And the longer this goes on, the easier it's going to get for BTH, as Liko's going to be closer to yet another Graviton. Here's TSN making another swap, but I think it's a little bit too late.
Almost wholesale swaps coming out here as well, because Ran Kyoshi switched, Delavigne switched off of the Pharaoh over to the Zarya. 82% right now for base tryhards. Out came the Earth Shatter. Didn't really find much for Neil is the only thing, but he's still able to stay alive through it. And now he's able to find a Fire Strike in onto Jules. So the main tank down, and then the Graviton Surge to clean it up. And base tryhards looks like they're going to get this first map after this last 5% goes. Team kill. No one's going to be able to get there.
TSN looked actually quite solid at the beginning, but I think to take that as an impression of BTH being a lesser version of themselves would be a mistake. The big problem that we saw here from base tryhards was that their Zenyatta was just completely unable to play the game, right? I mean, Lubok was on him like crazy. I mean, like glue, this man was stuck to him. It seems like Claire's going to try to pull that out this time again. I mean, the dichotomy of the map, the way that the map looks this time around here on Control Center, I think he might have a little bit of a better effect, but going into a Sombra, it's still going to be potentially a problem. But you talk about composure, base tryhards have brought that once again to the table. This is why they are the best team in South America, despite roster changes, despite problems compositionally, they're able to battle back.
The one good thing, though, is that Sombra, that EMP can be such a difference maker is the only thing. So We'll see how Suquinho Nation adjusts to this new map and having that. We know Lubbock was still pretty good on that Doomfist, and this is an even better Doomfist map. If you think about it, out comes the hack onto Liko, so that's been their target at least here early on. Nobody's able to do any damage to him, but you at least stop him from building up charge is the good thing. Puts the bubble onto Neil here to keep him up and try and build some charge, but he's still not very high. Doesn't really matter, though, because his team's finding the eliminations. It looks like they'll have early control here. Delavigne, though, is halfway to his EMP, trying to stay alive here as he has Dudu right on him. His fight's still a chance here for Suquinho Nation, perhaps, but Honoratu with the self-destruct as his team now finally wrestles control away.
You can see them communicating as well, where they're just picking out targets and isolating them and killing them one by one by one. Honorado just taking their Ana completely out of the fight over and over again. You can see Wings actually coming over and actually gets the boop off. So a big play coming in from Wings to support out Honorado, who was low on that defense matrix, and just, again, just completely pushes the Ana out of the fight. And that's big, big advantage for base tryhards.
A lot of ultimates are going to be coming up here. Those the one thing to point out here, Rick. I mean, when you look at it, Delavigne extremely close to that EMP. We know how big of an ultimate that is.
Absolutely, and base tryhards, they're going to be able to answer a lot of these things coming their way by sheer virtue of having the support ults. But base tryhards, they have to disengage here, pulling out Calero's ult to start the fight.
Really good to be able to get out the Transcendence. It allows for the sound barrier to come through. Meteor Strike misses, but it still forces back players on base. Tryhards is the only thing, and now out comes the EMP. Graviton Surge not going to be able to use because of it. Delavigne massive in this fight, and now it's just a matter of eliminating these last few stragglers. Neil trying to keep himself alive, charging back towards his supports. Only problem is they're starting to fall. Corlero, though not done in this fight just yet, does manage to take somebody out before his team falls.
Huge that Calero was able to come away from that fight with 77%, because going forward, base tryhards now have a massive advantage, right? To be able to retake this and start building that advantage even further. Liko just waiting to set up with that ultimate, just drop the grab in right on top of him. Catches 3, catches maybe 4?
Massive because of how he used it as well. He put it right on that little computer monitor there, and that grabbed them. They didn't get too many eliminations out of it is the only problem, though. So the Suquinho Nation is able to come back a little bit in this one. Lubbock is going crazy on this Doomfist with the help of Delavigne. Gets himself a nano boost to stay alive, and Suquinho Nation will hold on. And Honoratu going to get stalled out here, at least for the moment. Lubbock making sure he gets as much all charge out of that and has the Meteor Strike again.
Huge, though, that Liko caught them on the outside of the point, because that means that base tryhards were able to get out 17% score, just accrued throughout the duration of that fight. Delavigne very close to that EMP. That's going to be very scary for base tryhards, but Liko has made an adjustment here. That's the Roadhog to try to hook out Lubbock.
Oh, and he starts it off getting Ran Kyoshi, so the Ana down in the fight is a ton of healing loss. So now they can try and push their way onto this point. Have to be careful. There's some mines in front of them, thanks to Jules' Wrecking Ball, and able to just push through it is Neil with the shield. So now they have control of that point again. Start to accrue time on it as well here in just a second. Just have to force their way back through. Jules stalling for as long as possible, uses his shield, but quickly falls. Self-destruct by Honoratu, I think, just to keep his mech, just based on the positioning of it. And base tryhards will eventually get this back. Only problem is so much time has been accrued by Suquinho Nation. They're up to 73%, and they have an EMP to work with again.
That EMP is going to be a massive factor going forward, because they don't have really anything to sustain through it. If, their supports are caught, it's going to be a problem for them, particularly for Calero, who doesn't have an answer. So Liko, who has stopped a lot of the momentum of TSN with this swap onto the Roadhog, is now going to be faced with trying to deal with what is essentially an Anagoats comp, instead of the Diva having that EMP, which is going to be incredibly, incredibly aggressive. And it's going to be a problem if the Shatter doesn't land and just completely disable the entire enemy team.
Have to get that, but the EMP is what comes out first, so no chance for the Shatter to even land. Slept as well as Neil. Out comes the sound barrier too for Suquinho Nation, so they have so much sustain to take this point back, but it's going to get to 99% at the very least for base tryhards. Now out comes the Shatter. It does manage to get to it. Looks like Colero is able to take Jules down, though, at the start of this fight. So Suquinho Nation in a tough spot here. They don't have any ultimates into this fight here after they used their Nano Boost. Transcendence here to keep the last few players alive for base tryhards to turn this one around. Honoratu not going to get a chance to use self-destruct, at least for the moment, because EMP out again from Delavigne, trying to keep themselves alive on the point. Jules, the only one left, quickly forced off and winning map number 1, but it wasn't easy with base tryhards.
Honorado just almost always in the right place at the right time. Consistently dealing with the Ana in the backline, forcing the Ana out of the fight. That's big, especially when you consider the fact that going into this map, the big question on my mind was, is Calero going to be able to sustain his life versus what was, certainly a much more aggressive comp into diving on top of him. You bring in the Hammond, you bring in the Sombra, you bring in the Doomfist. Those are 3 huge problems for a Zenyatta to deal with, and it felt, at least to me, like the Ana on the side of TSN was actually taking a lot more pressure than this, than Calero. And I think that speaks volumes as to not only Honorado's ability to apply that pressure even alongside Wings as well, their new Lucio player replacing Alamong, but also his ability to come back alongside his other players on his team and insulate his backline, keep his Zenyatta protected, because that's so important in these matchups. And phenomenal to see that still being displayed here for base tryhards, despite losing 2 of their members that started the season.
One of the most vocal members too, as we kind of look at the replays here, Lubbock talking about how, he was getting pressure on the back line, but maybe not as much. Delavigne as well on the Pharah did some good things, but when you talk about the communication, that was the question, was how much drops off with Wings now being in the lineup compared to the player that you had in before in Alamung. And there's Peel coming, so that means there's some sort of communication happening. But of course, I think one of the bigger aspects of communication that maybe we don't talk about as much is listening, and you're definitely getting that from Neil and from Honoratu. I mean, I think I don't know how many times we've seen both of those tanks be extremely important in making team fights happen for the side of base tryhards.
Yeah, and I think a big factor here as well is the fact that something that I was mentioning actually when we first heard about the news with Alamong, and first of all, I want to say congratulations to him, definitely deserving of that position to be called up to. But one of the biggest questions was, what is their communication kind of setups, structure going to look like, right? I mean, Alamong historically was a big factor in BGH in the past, their ability to communicate in game, and he was calling a lot of their things, and obviously a primary shot caller for the team. Now, is this a situation where now, what isn't already kind of the responsibility of guys like Neil and guys like Liko, does that now fall under their responsibilities now? And then now we're seeing more of just kind of that same Contenders NA sort of style structure that's being displayed here by base tryhards, where we're seeing the Lucio doing most of just calling engages, disengages, and then moving to mostly to ult tracking in that department. So as we move over to Nimbani, I'm looking for more of that. I'm looking at their engaging, their disengaging. So far, we've seen only a couple of instances where that has been a factor for base tryhards, but historically, this team in particular has won games. They haven't lost very many, but they've won games based off of their ability to disengage and re-engage very well together, cohesively, better than any other team in this region, and better than a lot of teams in a lot of other regions as well. So I'm looking at that to be kind of more of an indicator as to how well Wings is fitting into this team, because I think the rest of the responsibilities are actually just being divvied up to the other players in the roster and fitting more of that NA style scheme that's kind of come of late due to the 3-3 meta that's been so prominent.
And it's working. That's without a doubt. And since we go to Nimbani now, taking a quick look here at just map records, Nimbani is somewhere base tryhards has not gone yet. On the other side for Suquinho Nation, they were still close in that first map. I think that's still something that we have to point out. They've only been to Nimbani so far in this season of Contenders. They're 2-0. They have not lost a map there yet. So that is, I think, something to point out to, and why it shouldn't be too much of a surprise that that's where Suquinho Nation decides to go. And with what we saw as far as their play style, I feel like Nimbani makes sense as well, especially if they plan to use more Sombra Doom style comps. I mean, I think they're going to be on attack here first. So we see at least the Sombra right now, but of course they're on attack. So who knows? They might just be messing with us. But on the other side, it looks like Liko's going to go to the Pharah and Dudu is going to go to the Sombra. So we're going to see Sombra play, it looks like, regardless.
Yeah, something that base tryhards does quite often actually is play a Sombra, whether it be with a Genji, whether it be with the Doomfist, a Pharah now as well. I mean, that's something that has always been a factor for BGH is Lico's versatility. Dudu can play these hit scan threats and be a problem for teams, but consistently, I think Lico is the linchpin here. Or rather, Lico is the person that base tryhards looks to just create this very dynamic sense of composition where they can play a lot of different things. Suquinho Nation now have to deal with Lico with basically just, diving up on him and then using the Diva, as well as having Lubak maybe just throwing some stuff up there. But I think Lico is going to be able to just pop off right now on defense until a swap is made.
Well, Lubak has gone over to the Hanzo for this push here. Was it first on that Widowmaker? Was this maybe doing some quick scouting? But control, being control here. But by Suquinho Nation, at least for the moment, quickly backing off. Lico still shooting out rockets. 2016's best DPS player of Brazil, too. He was voted, so definitely somebody to keep an eye on here as this battle starts to really commence. Darkin and Jules extremely close to falling. Lico has his pocket to make sure he stays alive, so it's which pocket will win first, and it's Lico getting the rockets into Lubbock. So now Suquinho Nation probably going to have to back out of this one as they're starting to lose number. Rankyoshi so close to falling here, and Lico takes him down and has himself a rocket barrage for the second fight that will be coming up.
They're going to keep going and get Nego Fist too, so even more time off the clock with that last stagger kill onto the Lucio. Of course, he can come back pretty quickly, but Suquinho Nation, they're going to be able to use Lubak here to dislodge base tryhards hold up on this high ground with that Dragon Strike. They're going to use it to dislodge them. It's going to pull base tryhards off of that defensive positioning up on the high ground, and it's going to allow them an opportunity to make the most of that kind of 6 to 8 second window that they're going to have to start finding kills.
And here it comes. They do use it exactly as you said, and they use EMP with it as well. And Delavigne takes Lico down, so no chance for the rocket barrage to come out. Still a lot of ultimates, though, on the side of Suquinho Nation. Only problem is they're falling too quickly to use them, so they're probably going to have to hold on to them here for this next opportunity. Lubbock using those storm arrows to try and get that Diva out of mech, not working, but they have control of the point. Neil getting Nego Fist at the very least. Not a bad thing to have happen, but Neil gets punched in the face by Lubbock, and that's not going to matter as they will eventually get control of this point as soon as they take out the last few players left alive.
Well, that Dragon Strike is once again just going to push them back, but Lubbock gets killed because of it, and Lico with the barrage, he gets taken down.
Got eaten up by the Diva, so Darkin expertly using his ability, and Rankyoshi able to res Lubbock right back into this fight, so they still have control of this point. It seems to be a futile effort from the side of base tryhards as they fall here, and the point opens up, and now the cart will start to roll as they try to push it all the way to the end.
The Dragon Strike gets exactly what it needed on that first opening engagement where, again, just dislodging them. Having the EMP to follow up is just icing on the cake. It allowed Suquinho Nation to just jump down the throats of base tryhards, and they weren't allowed to answer back. There wasn't any moves that they could use to try to answer them back. Neil couldn't protect his team. Honorado couldn't protect his team. Very good play. EMP now once again ready, and it's coming out.
Really close was the Zenda falling, and Colero, he does. Honoratu was able to get Delavigne out in this fight as well. Honoratu so close to falling too. He has, he's just going to jump off the edge here to make sure he doesn't lose any of his ultimate charge. Jules with that opportunity now will jump towards the support line, and Dudu, who's able to use his translocator to get away, but that card has a lot of room to take.
We'll see them go forward, and this time it's Dudu that has the ability to come in with that EMP and really kind of shift the momentum back into base tryhard's favor, and they're going to need to kind of buy time with this one too so that they can build up some of their other ultimates in this next fight.
EMP out, though, preemptively from Dudu. Self-destruct does manage to take him down as he could not escape from it, but it's a pretty even fight. Lubbock is switched over to the Doomfist, and he rocket punches his way into rings. Delavigne is able to get Calero out as well, so this fight turning in favor of Suquinho Nation. Looks like they might be able to get this. Lico and Honoratsu still alive, stalling for as long as possible. Meteor Strike down to try and help this one, as didn't see where it went for Lubbock as we made a weird switch there in between it, but his team does control, and now we'll get to the second, the second point, now push for the third.
Yeah, so he just dropped his meteor right on top of the graviton to just ward off anybody from base tryhards, from being able to just run in and cleave on them. So not sure if all of that was entirely necessary, but we are going to go ahead and see base tryhards making some adjustments themselves. They have to be really, really strong and just aggressive here with this particular composition. They don't have a lot of healing, certainly not as much as the Ana side of TSN.
They're still continuing forward with the nano boost onto Jules, able to take down Colero. So the Zenyatta not having much effect for this team in base tryhards. Dudu's able to force away the Winston coming in, and now Neil using his primal rage has Lubbock low and will get him with the Tesla cannon. Self-destruct into the bubbles, keeps everybody away from the cart for the moment, but Wings able to take Jules down. In the meantime, Colero blanks Nego Fist, and Neil gets Delavigne, so it looks like getting back control will be base tryhards. Took them a while, but still 2:33 left on the clock for Suquinho Nation.
Still that impact player that you're looking for. It's Delavigne. He still has that EMP ready here once again for TSN. Look for the Suquinho Nation to just dive right on into the back line and look for them to jump right onto Wings and Colero again. Time and time again, you see that EMP come out. They're looking for the Zenyatta in the back line. Colero has fallen to that twice now. I can't imagine that they won't go for that same exact play, considering how successful they've been.
Was a player we highlighted earlier too, in Delavigne, saying that we needed to see him make an impact, and an impact he has had so far. Another good EMP, catching a lot of targets, and Jules is able to take out the main tank in deal at the start. Colero pushing forward though, not wanting to give up this cart for his team. Anratu now has the self-destruct now that the EMP is over as well. That can be used. Decides to throw it up high into the air. Jules, though, able to eliminate two of the backline targets, and now is into the primal rage. EMP out from Dudu, though, to try and counter is the only thing. Nigglefist not able to keep his diva in mech, but he still has numbers, and Duda falls to the Tesla cannon of Jules. Does get hacked out, but he has a nano boost onto him to keep himself alive into this fight as he continues forward on towards that back line. Jules doing so much work.
We'll see Honorado potentially losing his mech here as base tryhards. They've swapped Colero back over to the Moira to bring them a little bit more sustain, but he's down.
Have the EMP that was used again by Delavigne. That's his second one in this extended team fight that he's able to get out, and they're so close to finishing this off. Just goes under 60 seconds. Liko is switched over to the Doomfist and gets quickly blanked, and now they're able to complete this as they do complete the round with time left for Suquinho Nation. We know how important that is on a map like this, but of course it's under a minute is the only thing to point out.
The Suquinho Nation have found something, I guess, some point of weakness rather to start exploiting now for base tryhards. Typically, historically, looking back at BGH, looking now at base tryhards, they have really had no weak points. I mean, there's been a couple of cases where we've said, okay, this is the moment. If a team was going to beat them, it has to be here. This isn't their meta, or this isn't like a composition that they've played against, or this is a hero that they haven't really had much time to practice with, and it could be a very big opportunity considering some other team has, looked very good on that particular hero. Or with Chaos coming through in season 2, that was particularly something to look at as well. But they've never really had a point of just pure weakness, I guess, that has been able to be exploited in this region. TSN, I think, for the first time are showing maybe not a point of weakness, but just a point of it's hard, a point of exploitation, I guess you could say, because it's not necessarily a weakness. It's just a problem that has come through for base tryhards where their backline is exposed, right? The Suquinho Nation have jumped in with plenty of dive, going straight for the backline, whether it be with the Winston, whether it be with the Hammond, but then always kind of providing that extra little bit of line of aggression and lethality with the Doomfist primarily. And that has worked for them time and time again. Defensively, not sure about how you want to structure this out, because that's not going to be the same option for you. But as they go for their attacks, they need to set good times so that, when surely base tryhards finishes a map, they have a competitive time bank to work with.
And it's not unheard of to think that they could have an even bigger time bank than Suquinho Nation has. 54 seconds is pretty good on Numbani, but it's still something that is beatable. So, base tryhards here kind of just backing away right now, looking for their opportunity where they want to dive. They're very patient, I think, is one thing to point out with what we're seeing right here, making sure that they know where they want to go. They at least have everybody off the high ground, dashing in through the Zenyatta, not able to fall just yet. Didn't have the follow-up damage there onto Liko, what he was doing, and Honoratu's going to lose his mech. So now they're just onto the point, trying to at least get a tick here. They do manage to get Honoratu staying in this fight at the very least, even though he had lost his mech. But Neil's going to fall in the meantime, even though mech was regained. And the hack does come out onto Darkin. So see if they can at least trade the mech here in this fight. If they can at least do that, that can bode well for their next push opportunity. But it looks like they're not even going to be able to do that.
Yeah, if I'm base tryhards right now, I'm pulling out of this fight, getting that disengage, relying on wings to make sure that that happens. And then I'm looking forward to this next fight to shut down Rankiyoshi. We've seen TSN make full holds with this composition before. Shut down Rankiyoshi, that opens up Delavina, exposes him, and then you can use the EMP blade on that.
Well, they quickly pop the EMP with the blade. Nano boost onto Liko Ford as well, swiping his way through and managed to get Negofist at the start. And with the help of Honoratu, gets the Met gone. He does fall, but his team has the eliminations that they need. Jules is going to use his Primal Rage here to stall out for as long as possible. Looks like he's going to maybe try and to escape here for the moment. Lubbock on this Brigitte will fall in this fight as well, and going down will be Jules. So they're just stalling and staggering here for a little bit. But it will finally be a win for base tryhards, but it was not extremely fast.
Actually, incredibly well strategized by base tryhards. They came through with a composition that they knew would work against what TSN wanted to play, which is the same composition that they were able to make a full hold with to beat out Caverna last week. So, again, hats off to their coaches, and this is why a team like this is just so strong.
And Liko quickly dashing through Delavina takes him out during his Deadeye. So the fight here for base tryhards still even in this one. Honoratu did lose mech, but they still have been able to gain space and move that cart.
And now base tryhards making sure that they kind of stay in this fight, because in the interim, between the last and the next, they're going to allow themselves to get into positions where, once again, they can use those DPS ults, right? They're going to be able to get that EMP Nano Blade off once more, and that is always a win condition for them.
Out comes the dive, though, from Jules, but you're going to have the sound barrier committed here on either side. The only problem is a player fell on either side before the sound barriers happened. So Lubbock able to get Dudu down as well after he had used his EMP. This looks like it's going to be a losing fight for base tryhards. They're going to have to try and regroup, it looks like, as the card is lost from their control. Honoratu throwing out that self-destruct in desperation. Not able to find anybody, but at least forces players back. And now they're going to use the EMP or the Nano Blade into this one. And Liko quickly slices through two, dashes into another, and onto the Zen, and they'll get this card moving again.
Hey, Boston, I got another player for you, huh? Got another player for you. His name's Liko. Big plays from Liko. Absolutely. I mean, Liko is a guy that has been touted as one of the best DPS players, not even just voted in 2016, but has remained that consistent through the duration of his career, in my opinion. Has looked fantastic through every single meta. And here's the EMP coming out from Delavina. Can they turn the fight around?
Looking for if they can find any eliminations out of it. It looks like they weren't able to. Both self-destructs going into the air. Delavina does manage to take out his counterpart in Junior. Honoratu, though, getting value out of his self-destruct. So the self-destruct going better onto the other side could keep this one for base tryhards. 2:13 left to go. They're so close to finishing this off. They're going to just back away, make sure that they don't lose anybody, give more all charge than need. And now here comes the re-engage. We're watching Darkin, who's coming back into this fight. Liko with another blade, and he's nano boosted again, slicing through two quickly and finding another one here, maybe, but he gets EMP'd out of it. Or sorry, just hacked, but it doesn't matter. The Delavina eliminates him, but it's too little too late.
Something that's so impressive about Liko's blades, too, and something that you can really kind of discern whether or not a player is truly great at Genji, is their ability to de-nest targets, right? They start clumping people together. He's not just dashing from target to target haphazardly, right? Subconsciously, what he's doing, because he's just so good, is he's pushing everybody out of position so that even if he does wind up getting hacked and killed, which is exactly what happened, the rest of his team can start cleaning up after him.
And AKM's still building his blade, and he's already built up 3 in that time, so that's something to point out as well. He built 2 in one fight. That's just incredible. Sound barriers coming out from either side. EMP from Delavina forces back base tryhards. Managed to catch a couple, but not everybody is the only problem, so they can't engage too hard onto them is the only thing. Delavina will have to escape with the use of his translocator is the only thing. So now Primal Rage thrown into this fight. Neil hacked out, though, is the only thing. He's going to be kept alive thanks to a very timely sound barrier, but they're not able to do anything. And Wings is able to fall from Darken's self-destruct. I thought everybody would be safe for base tryhards. They're going to have to regroup now.
And if I'm base tryhards, I'm just trying to maintain Liko, and that's not going to happen. With their Zarya, you want to keep that high charge for as long as you possibly can. Suquinho just going to take advantage of this position as they're going to continue to just wreak havoc at the spawn doors. 150 on the clock remaining here, Lobosco. And again, base tryhards now looking to enable Neil. Keeping Liko at high charge is going to be the name of the game, making sure that they can ward off and pressure off TSN in these kind of tight choke points where base tryhards can start using that to their advantage. They can bring out the Graviton, keep everybody sustained through all of their supports as well. I'm definitely looking at base tryhards to just spearhead this one through.
EMP coming out from Delavigne, so Team Suquinho Nation being very, very proactive in this one. Out comes the Meteor Strike. Nothing found from it, though. The only thing, Shield Bash by Dudu takes Jules down, so the main tank being gone for Suquinho Nation might spell good for the side of base tryhards, and a great use of his ultimate by Liko keeps everybody on the high ground, and they're quickly going to fall. So even though they couldn't really put out damage into it, they still get the eliminations through it.
They also spot out Renkiyoshi in the back. He has his nano boost. That's going to be an opportunity to retake with Jules. They can keep that Winston alive forever, just battering everybody around.
Oh, he quickly gets down extremely fast. He falls. Neil uses his Earth Shatter, doesn't find anything. Lubbock able to get Colero down in this fight, though, is definitely a big loss, though. He's still on this Doomfist, putting out players, but Dudu's shield bashes Negofist, so base tryhard still in control. This so close to that golden box. 28 seconds left to go. Honoratsu felling Delavigne here, so the players falling for Suquinho Nation. Base tryhards trying to get this one completed. 20 seconds left onto the clock as Liko's super high charge on this point quickly takes Jules down, and they complete it with a little bit of time left.
Big rip to Jules. I mean, that was their saving grace. TSM were going to rely on that, making sure that Jules can get in there. He's going to have the nano boost to reset his health, give him a lot more damage reduction. And as he gets lower, as that nano boost starts to decay off, he's just going to go ahead and pop his ult as well for yet another reset. There was nothing that could have stopped him. There was no Ana on the other side. Calero had already swapped to the Moira, if I'm not mistaken. So there was no way that they could have stopped Jules from just causing havoc and allowing the rest of their team to just come back from respawn over and over and over again while he creates space and allows them opportunity and time to start working into finding some kills and regaining a footing there. Base tryhards with that 3-2-1 spike onto the Winston was absolutely pivotal in that fight.
And time is something that is of the essence here for both teams, too. When you look at it here, they're both extremely low times as far as Numbani is concerned. A minute for base tryhards, a minute 39 for Suquinho Nation. So you're seeing basically the same setups offensively and defensively from both of these teams, too.
Absolutely. And again, the whole purpose of this is that Suquinho Nation feels at their best when they just allocate all of their resources to Delavigne. They really just they sit Renkiyoshi on top of Delavigne. They just put everybody onto Delavigne, making sure that they can keep their Zenyatta and their McCree alive, and those two are just helping each other out. Liko and Dudu, on the other hand, are going full aggressive. As soon as they build their ultimates up, they're going right for those two at their throats incessantly as they get those ultimates.
So we know how important it is. This dive in onto that backline is going to be. Out it comes here quickly. We see Liko throwing those right clicks, getting those shurikens spammed in. They do have control of the point at the very least, but in comes the re-engage from Suquinho Nation. Finds himself a target in Delavigne, not able to take him down. Reflect, though, helps him take down Jules with the help of Honoratu, who's right there as well. Darkin's mech is going to be lost as well, so this fight going exactly how base tryhard wanted, and they have out the blade from Liko to ensure that this cart will roll.
I don't know about the blade, though. I would have actually liked to have seen them hold on to that one, because I don't think there's going to be a big enough opportunity for Liko to start generating another one quickly enough for them to just ace out the next fight. And as Suquinho Nation come forward, they're going to have Delavigne in their back pocket on the Zarya to just cancel them out with the Graviton. Now going forward, you're relying on the EMP being huge. It has to be huge, or else you could lose this next fight.
Well, there comes out, goes the EMP, and it looks like it was huge, and Liko's able to quickly dash into Renkiyoshi, finds himself Lubbock as well, and eliminating the back of Darkin too, so he's doing just all right, and he's already to 51% for his next blade.
One ult per fight and just acing every one of these as well. Delavigne completely nullified. Only 22% ult charge coming away from that one. Liko at 60% now. They still have 4 of their ultimates up, particularly the nano boost, which is going to have a profound effect as Liko starts generating that blade, gets ever closer to that deadly impact of the nano blade.
20% away from being able to finish it off. Self-destruct forces players away, which forces them right into where Liko is. So now he's able to build right up to that. Has it here. Calero's already used the nano boost, though, is the only problem. So it's going to have to go without it. Looking for his opportunity. Sees the Transcendence end, and he goes right on to that target backline. But Nagelfist was able to boop him and take him down. So he's gone. Dudu in desperation using the EMP, but the numbers are falling for his team. It looks like this push will end just before that first point for the cards for the side of base tryhards.
Needed that nano boost, unfortunately. I mean, that setup from the Suquinho Nation was so good. Forced Calero to be put into a position where he had the nano boost early when he wasn't really wanting to. Obviously, you want to have it in conjunction with the blade so that he can go through and just one combo out the Zen and start dashing around and creating that havoc. And again, pushing everybody together so that they can start taking those kills in clusters, start really pushing out the AoE pressure so that Suquinho Nation just simply cannot sustain with the composition that they were running. So now, though, base tryhards have gone quite a distance in their minute that they were allotted, obviously, right? I mean, the Suquinho Nation are going to be, it's a tough ask to go through base tryhards with a minute 39 and get essentially 2 points, right? Now on their attack, I'm looking for them to basically do the same kind of strategy that they did on their first one. I think they're going to be looking for pick setups here. However, base tryhards, I was going to say I thought that they were going to do something different. I actually did believe that they were going to do something differently, but it seems like instead we're just going to see essentially what is likely a mirror to what we saw the first time around.
They were able, I mean, it wasn't extremely fast, but once they ended up winning that fight, they were in control and rolled really fast through the street's face. So I guess it makes sense that maybe they think this, but I mean, are you surprised base tryhards is doing basically the same thing we saw defensively?
Yeah, that's what my concern was that, if there was a hit scan threat that came through, that could be problematic if they didn't have, something else, like maybe like a Doomfist or something could be an option as long as it was a soldier and not a McCree. So something to consider. However, it looks like this might work out, at least for the time being, in base tryhard's favor because of the fact that Liko is just so efficient at being elusive and working these corners very well, playing the map as well as you possibly can with the Pharah.
And they did win the first fight pretty hard. It was the second fight where they really ended up losing, but it still was a quick take for the side of Suquinho Nation. Being forced back right now, trying to find out where that Pharah is, able to find him now, uses the storm arrows right into the bubbles. The only thing, misses the headshot narrowly onto Dudu. That would have been a big loss for the side of base tryhards. Still hasn't been able to find him. Dudu, though, gets Darken's mech. So no mech, no diva. That makes Liko even more aggressive he can be. Ooh, a little bit of a mess up, I think, there on his use of his E. Doesn't matter. He finds a target to take down with his ult, and he gets 2 of them as they will keep control of this, but there are some ultimates coming up for Suquinho Nation here. They have 30 seconds.
And that big one that we're looking at is the combination, obviously, between Delavinia and Lubach, having the EMP to follow up with the Dragon Strike to just completely push off base tryhards from their defensive position where they are very comfortable. If they can follow up like they did the first time around, this should unlock the point for them. However, their tank positioning is going to have to be a little bit different because they have to get onto the point and start controlling.
6 seconds left. It's going to be Delavinia who actually gets onto the point first, and he'll use his EMP to make sure that he takes out anybody who's on that, at least that they can't use any of their abilities. Ran Kiyoshi actually gets the elimination onto Liko, and then the hack comes out, so there's no use of Lubach's Dragon Strike, so that's a huge loss for the side. Oh, and falling is Ran Kiyoshi as well. Lubach does manage to get Liko down, so his team's still in this fight, at least for the moment. Lubach trying to stay alive, but the heal chases him down. Great use of his jump, and base tryhards just have to take down Negofist and clear this point off, and they will get the win here and go up 2-0. What a finish here from base tryhards.
Almost to the point where it was just fortunate, right? I mean, good fortune coming through for base tryhards where the timing of that EMP could not have been better in any regard, canceling out, and not only just canceling it out by delaying it, but also pulling it out completely by disabling it as it was coming out. So huge play coming through from Dudu to stop that in its tracks. And I think that was the most pivotal part of that fight to shut all that down. That Dragon Strike might have been enough for them to start looking for a retake there, as they had 4 other players on the point at that stage.
Well, they don't get a chance to do that, but they do still have 2 more naps to try and get this one back. So we'll throw it back to our desk of Green, Havoc, Lafon, and of course, Naori.
Oh, wow. So we definitely saw some chaotic play. Of course, we saw the Goats comp leading the way, but there was some interesting variance thrown into this. And I want to go ahead and ask, of the different comps we saw, what was your favorite comp? We'll start with you, Lafon.
I think favorite kind of undersells it, because this is an interesting thing. We got to talk about maps when we talk about compositions, right? A lot of the time when we talk about why compositions are so strong, it's because they fit maps so well. Talk about why Kings Row has always been a tank playground. It's because there's a lot of low ground where tanks, high ground control isn't nearly as valuable there as sometimes it is on say Watchpoint Gibraltar. And now when we go and look at this meta where tanks are super powerful pretty much everywhere, and then we go to a map like Numbani where high ground is so very valuable, especially on first point, really. The fact is, tanks just don't do nearly as good. So some of the flexibility that we're seeing here, and you're probably going to see in other regions as well on these like specific kinds of maps, you're going to see a lot more verticality involved. And one of the things is that's really good at that, well, dive. So I'm not surprised that we're seeing this compositions. I think what's really cool about it, though, is that both these teams are still willing to play, sort of that aggressive style, that nonstop go button, essentially. And whether they're playing on the Goats comp, whether they're playing on the dive, whether they're playing, some sort of protect the McCree, super McCree composition, it has been very exciting for me to see these teams just keep going at it.
Very true. So
yeah, I can agree with that. It's been really cool seeing the different compositions again, because we complain so much about the monotony of Goats over and over again. So I think coming down to picking a favorite composition, my favorite composition is a composition that's not Goats. Not because I don't like Goats, but because I'm bored of it.
I want to actually, just as a small aside, actually, I want to talk a little bit about TSN though, because at the start of the broadcast, we kind of highlighted the fact that, or we said that TSN after week 1 was a team we had high expectations for, and then week 2 it was kind of not there. This week 3 is not, this team TSN here, this third week is not the same team that played last week. I think they've played, more aggressive. They've played more in their own style. Lubak has been basically cocky the whole time. And yes, they're down 2-0 to base tryhards, but it is base tryhards. And I think if there's a team we kind of expected TSN to struggle against, it would have been this team. That being said, though, I have to say, BTH has not impressed me nearly as much as they have in past weeks. Some of those changes have really shown up in terms of the ult economy, in terms of the aggression, the coordination. So I think if there's a time where BTH may be the most fallible, it is now.
We have seen it a few times so far where TSM has, like you were saying just a little bit ago, this kind of just W forward style, very high tempo, especially on the offense. We saw them open up Lijiang Night Market with a Hammond Diva dive that was pretty successful until they were forced off of it, because once they lost that point and they didn't have the ability to play for space and chaos, I mean, you couldn't re-engage with it. But it seems to me that in that aggression, in that chaos they're creating, there are pockets and windows where the tryhards just aren't quite able to react fast enough. But it also seems like TSM is like getting these big play moments and then just right at the last second not quite being able to capitalize to the level that they need to finish out some of these maps. What are your opinions on that, Naori?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that I spoke about when we were off screen as well. They're this team that every time they go into a fight, you'll hear us. We'll be like, oh, this person died, fight's over. And then like 3 seconds later, they'll get off a really good EMP or a really good sound barrier. And suddenly they turn the whole fight around and we're like, oh. And that happened so many times. They win these fights so often. And again, that capitalization, that pushing it just that little bit further so that you can actually win it. I mean, they even finished with a little bit more time on Numbani. They had so much opportunity there to push forward, and they they weren't doing it. They were winning the fights, but they weren't winning the war. And that's the unfortunate part. But I think that's what I'm really most excited to see going forward, because every map they get a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. So I'm really hoping that come these next 2 maps, maybe 3 maps, they really show up for us.
I think that's a great point to really zoom in on the end of Numbani for TSM's attack, where they had, I believe it was just EMP versus nearly an entire 6 ult roster for the tryhards, and they managed to kind of dip their toe in, back up a little bit, regroup, engage hard, and turns that fight around and ultimately finish the map. Where realistically speaking, the tryhards being, on paper the better team, having better ults and defensive spawn advantage, had everything in their hand to be able to full hold that map and let it slip away, just because the tempo of the game, they're just not quite adapting. So despite the 2-0 lead, they aren't playing to what we've seen in the past. And I want to know, LaFon, how much of that has to do with these player switches and subs, do you think?
I mean, that's probably the entirety of it, right? BTH, they're bringing in a new player in Wings who hasn't looked awful by any stretch of the imagination. I want to be very clear about that. They've looked very, very good. It's just that it's not to the same caliber that we've seen from BTH in the past. Will they get there? Most likely. But right now, as of this moment, they do look a little bit shakier than they did last week. So yes, the short answer is yes. The long answer is yes, but.
Very fair. All right, so before we send it back to our casters and get this second half, are we staying with our picks? We've got 1 for TSM, we've got 2 for the tryhards. Anyone changing up?
It's a 4-0 here from BTH still. I still believe that. TSN, though, they still have the opportunity to steal a map. It's not out of their hands. That being said, BTH has been the better team, and I will stick with that 4-0.
All right.
I'm going to call it a 3-1 just because I want to see it happen.
Okay, I like it. So we are going to send it to a quick break, and then our casters are going to pick up the coverage as we send it into the second half. We'll be right back. See you soon.
Back here on Broadcast.gg, it's Labasco and Heroix for South American Contenders, as it is currently 2-0 in favor of Base Tryhards over the Suquinho Nation. It's not been an easy 2-0 is the only thing here, Heroix. Our desk talked at length about how Base Tryhards still seems like the better team, but there's some really good positives from Suquinho Nation.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like they absolutely bounced back from their week 2 play. I mean, certainly, I think Caverna really stepped things up last week, and it really set the tone for perhaps a TSN that we thought we were going to see, but we weren't going to see, and now we are seeing them again, kind of thing, it looks like. But nonetheless, it seems like they're bouncing back to some degree, and I agree with LaFawn as well, that as they were talking about during the halftime break there as well, that, this is Base Tryhards probably at their weakest, certainly of the season. However, it's not like they're weak in any regard. They are still incredibly strong. They're still adapting incredibly well. You're seeing a lot of their players still having very good moments. They're very consistent, and that's why they're probably going to still come out ahead. I would even say, I go as far as to say that it is going to be the 4-0 coming through, another one for Base Tryhards, despite all that have been thrown their way. But, as we go towards a third map, I'm definitely expecting to see kind of more of the same. Certainly a lot of that 2-2-2, a lot of dive heavy stuff. I'm curious to see what kind of map they're going to go into next year, though, Labasco, because there are different types of maps that we can start getting into where we're going to see a lot more of that kind of 3-3 split. One in particular is going to be Horizon Lunar Colony, where we could start seeing that, where you will indeed see, a lot of Ryan play, maybe some Winston into the second point, but it's a little bit of a different dynamic than what we've seen from these two teams so far that have been pretty much strictly on Winston, I would say like 60 to 70% of the time.
When you talk about it too, as far as the maps go for Assault, we haven't seen anybody in South American Contenders play Horizon Lunar Colony yet. So going to Horizon Lunar Colony now is sort of a departure from that, and sort of, I mean, is that a surprise that that's something that you see a team doing? Because we haven't seen it happen, so there's really no telling how any team is going to play on it, since that is where we're going.
I think Horizon is probably just an attempt at a clutch play from Suquinho Nation to try to catch Base Tryhards off guard. They know that they're bringing in a new player, Wings, here. They know that some of their strategies are going to be off kilter a little bit to some degree, and they know that they might have an opportunity to take this map by just rushing in and being aggressive and trying to, again, just catch Base Tryhards off guard. I don't think it's going to happen. I think this is going to be yet another close matchup between these two teams. However, I still think Base Tryhard is just the team that's going to come out ahead. I think it's going to involve some different looks, though. We're certainly going to see Sombra. We're certainly going to see Doomfist. But I think we're going to see a little bit more of that kind of 3-3 split that we've not really seen that much of in comparison to, what we're used to as of late.
I think it's the good thing to talk about if you're talking 3-3 compositions too. The integration of players is really important, and obviously Dudu already has experience with this team, so that's a little bit easier to integrate. But what have you thought of what you've seen from Wings so far? Sure, it's not the a little bit of those compositions we've seen, but not as much. How has he been as far as getting acclimated with the rest of Base Tryhards?
Well, on your point with Dudu, I think the big thing there was that it's just plug and play, right? He's a person that they played with for a long time, so you can just come back in and it's very easy, a very quick adjustment phase for them. I think Desenio, a big reason why I thought that they were going to bring him in is that same exact factor, just the plug and play. However, bringing in Wings is something that I wasn't expecting at all, although it seems like it has worked out for them quite well. I mean, he's been able to integrate and assimilate into the team and their compositions and their strategies quite well. We've seen him work well with Honorato back on Lijiang Tower, Control Center specifically. He has looked quite good. Has he looked as good as Alamang? Probably not. And certainly a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes is going to be more indicative of that fact, I think, or at least my opinion of it. But I still think he's looked very, very good. So my opinion, I think with time, we'll see him get to that level or close to that level for sure.
We get to see more Mercy play from Wings as well here, as we see defensively they have the Amercia, and they're going with the Junkrat for Liko as coming through with the dive. Delvigne on the Genji right now and quickly eliminated by those pipe bombs from Liko. So quick elimination for the defense, but they're still in a spot rotating around now, looking for those last few players. Dudu is playing the Widowmaker here as well. Nice dive coming in from Lubbock and from Jules to take him down. So you're in an even situation here for both of these teams, and the pressure gone from the Widowmaker being one of the important parts of it as well. So close to getting Wings down and out of this fight was Jules. Tesla Cannon couldn't finish the job, and now that'll allow Liko to spam back onto the point where players are going for Team Suquinho Nation.
They had a couple opportunities. Suquinho Nation were low, but base tryhards need to rotate now to start getting these kills.
The pulse bomb in, and then Lubbock with a nice hit onto Honoratu. Suquinho Nation will take this point.
I was just about to get into it. There was a big moment there for base tryhards. If they would have got an early rotation down to the lower ground, they would have been able to take the kills on 3 targets for TSN that were low. However, they allowed them to get that full reset with Rankiyoshi on the Ana, and now Suquinho Nation, with all the momentum in the world, jumping in to point B.
Have some ultimates coming up for them here too. Delavigne is about to get the blade. There's nothing for the side of base tryhards to do to stop this blade as well. So this is a nano boosted blade that's probably going to come out here, and out it comes onto the back line. He goes, swipes into 2 players and takes them both out. Gets a third as they're going to build up quickly onto this point. So the blade gets a ton of value. Just have to eliminate. Liko is switched over to the Doomfist and now find the player coming back out, Honoratu.
This is one of the best looks that we saw from them last week as well. The GT dive, that Genji Tracer combination between Lubbock and Delavigne. This is probably going into the beginning of the season. We can see them still just sustaining through. Liko trying to turn this fight around. We can get more into this a little bit after, but what's going on?
Self-destruct in desperation, and it can't even get to the point in time to clear them off. They're going to have over 5 minutes on the clock here for Suquinho Nation. Awesome dive, topped off because of that great pulse bomb.
Yeah, and like I was saying before, Lubbock, Delavigne, that was the backbone of this team, right? I mean, going into this season, Delavigne and Lubbock being on the same team together on this roster, that was the big reason why we expected this team to do so well. They were the team we were looking at coming out of trials. However, the big question mark was, can 2 DPS players be as pivotal for a roster? Can they be as impactful for a roster as, previous metas, or has that time kind of come and passed to some degree? However, it seems like now they are bouncing back in such a big way behind their GT dive, that Genji Tracer setup that worked well for them last week against Caverna on their first attack on point A. They're bringing it back for their point A and B attack as well. And it's working well against the best team in South America. Not one of the best teams in South America, literally the best team in South America, and by quite a wide margin as well. So to have that kind of impact with Delavigne and Lubbock, I think that's a good sign for Suquinho Nation. Once again, bouncing back from the tough loss that they had last week against a Caverna that is reinvigorated and looking a lot better than they were last season and week 1 of this. So now base tryhards have an opportunity. 5:39 on the clock. Very tough time to match or beat. They're going to try it with straight 3-3 goats. Moira coming at you.
Classic 3-3 goats we're going to see here, of course, with the Moira instead of what we've been seeing a lot of lately in the Zenyatta, but maybe they were expecting Lubbock to be on this Doomfist as part of why. So you have Lubbock using that rocket punch, trying to get in on, and Dudu quickly taken down by Darkin, and Wings ends up falling as well. So already some big losses for the side of base tryhards, and the defense is going to hold here, it looks like, for the moment, but Neil's still forcing his way through, even though he's down a few players. I think maybe they're trying to get control of this high ground.
Yeah, they're trying to keep control of this high ground for as long as they can until Wings can get back and they can start pushing their way around to the point. As long as Lubbock isn't there, they should be pretty safe.
Oh, almost got felled was Jules. He's able to stay alive, gets back healed up. Delavigne has to heal himself. He's only at 5 HP, able to work his way over to his health pack that he had hacked, so he'll be able to get back into this fight. But Neil, in the meantime, into the Graviton. Surge takes 2 down, thanks to a great combination between the Zarya and the Reinhardt. So great opportunity here to get this point for the side of base tryhards. Doesn't matter that they lost a few players at the beginning.
Now, how are you going to be able to take point B, though? I mean, you can match the times here, 640. You know, the problem I think that we're going to see is that they don't have enough weapons. They don't have as much weapons as they need to be able to take point B. Suquinho Nation, on the other hand, they have EMP. They have Lubak to dive in onto the back line. I don't think base tryhards take this point right here.
And we know how hard it is to take this second point on Horizon Lunar Colony. They just so close to the spawns. Oh, the self-destruct with the EMP gets 2 for the defense. Suquinho Nation using their ultimates in perfect tandem to force back base tryhards.
Liko needs to maintain this energy level. Doesn't have all too much of it at the moment, as he's just going to kind of keep generating that as much as he possibly can. But maintaining what he had is good news for base tryhard, because they need to get the Graviton up. I think that's realistically their best chance, is getting that up, despite the fact that the TSN is going to be pretty scattered around.
Swing his way in as Neil has his Earth Shatter available. Here's the Meteor Strike, able to avoid it. Lubbock actually went through the spot on the top there and ended up on the low ground. And while that happened, Jules was able to find somebody and take him down. Neil's still looking for a chance to use his Earth Shatter. Only problem is his team's falling around him. So now Suquinho Nation can get control here in a moment. EMP out as well onto a few players. Lubbock has to hide here for a moment here. Now gets on to the point and making sure that they hold on to it, and base tryhards will just regroup.
So you come into this next fight, base tryhards that is, and they come through and they are able to shut down Rankyoshi, and I think they have an ability to get this captured at about 4 minutes, and that becomes a more winnable scenario for them for the rest of this map. But they have to win it right here. If somehow Suquinho Nation can stave them off utilizing this Transcendence, then that will be huge.
Ooh, grabs 2 with that. Alt 2 was Liko, so great use of the Graviton Surge to stop the diving players from coming in. So now they're onto the control. Already have 33%. They can't lose that now, is the nice thing. Out comes the Transcendence onto the point, though, to try and battle back in for Suquinho Nation. Their staggers will be coming back in a second here as well. Coalescence out from Colero, though. Self-destruct, has to be careful not to avoid it, and he's able to just get out of the way. Nagelfist taken down thanks to that Coalescence, too. Self-destruct on a point. Honorado trying to take it by himself, and they're not able to get back on for Suquinho Nation, so it's a big bang for base tryhards, but of course we know Suquinho Nation with the bigger one.
Yeah, so now base tryhards, they're going to attack first here in this next phase. But again, sub 4 minutes, that's what I was looking for them to be able to get. Now this becomes a situation that is once again winnable. It looked very dismal as Suquinho Nation finished their attack. 539 is ridiculously fast. However, base tryhards now looking like they're probably going to bring back that same composition. However, they have to play this incredibly smart, right? Suquinho Nation bring in Lubak on the Doomfist, which is likely alongside the Sombra to come through as well. And that's not what I wanted from base tryhards, actually. I mean, if Lubak does bring the Doomfist, okay, there we go. There we go, Colero. If Lubak brought the Doomfist and Colero brought Zenyatta, no chance base tryhards is going to get in there without completely outplaying in every degree Suquinho Nation, because that composition is on this map in particular is way too strong against that Zenyatta. So good news is that they brought it over to the Moira. Bad news is that this composition TSN is running is still good against the Moira as well, or the Moira goats as well. So still a tough call for base tryhards, but they're going to stick with it. It worked for them last time, so why not now?
They lost Dudu and Wings at the beginning of that fight last time too, so I think maybe we'll see how the point of emphasis, what they decide to do when that Doomfist comes in onto that dive, how it changes here. They're going the same way. They do have that dive coming through, uses his shift to stay away from everything as Colero keeps his team up alive. Everybody gets onto the high ground this time without falling, so that's already better than last time for base tryhards, so marginal improvement here, but now they have to find the target they want to get onto. They found themselves a diva that they're able to send away. Oh, they get Lubak Dudu able to hit the shift and get him out of the air with that rocket flail. Starkin now on the point, stalling out for as long as possible. And this is not going well for Suquinho Nation. Base tryhards in control of the points.
Suquinho Nation essentially just said, why don't you just come on in here, isolate us out, and take us out one by one. We'll just stand around and do nothing while you do it. And that's exactly what we saw. Base tryhards just waltzed in, took down Lubach in isolation. Nobody really rotated from Suquinho Nation because everybody was so afraid of that Reinhardt. Neil just coming through. Now they're going to be able to start rocking into the point. They have some ultimates coming up as well.
None of them are up just yet, though, so this is still a pretty vanilla fight until they do. And Jules able to get wings down in the beginning. A good start. Dudu eliminating Jules after he takes down their one player, and Dudu finding another as well. So Dudu doing work right now in this Brigitte, being enabled by his team so well. Pushes away Delavigne at the moment. At points starting to build up, already up to 66%. EMP comes out, but it might be too little too late is the only problem. Oh, that point's so close to being base tryhards here. 3:07 left to go, so they'll have a decent one, and not able to get back on is Suquinho Nation. So they're just under 3 minutes or even at it.
So again, winnable, right? Winnable for base tryhards here as they come through with a composition that, realistically speaking, Suquinho Nation should have been able to win that. And now we're starting to see it seems as though there's some clunkiness to the machine, right? There's some gunk in the cogs, or something's going on with TSN where those rotations, those kinds of adjustments need to be made very, very quickly. That's something they struggled against with Caverna. Caverna came through. They were making very optimal rotations, particularly with compositions involving Amercia, with Joazou coming through and being a big playmaker. However, Suquinho Nation now still kind of making those errors, right? They're not adapting quickly enough positionally, and they're not making those rotations as they need to, especially with the composition that should be able to answer the 3-3, at least in my opinion, on this particular map. Because obviously this changes map to map, but on this one, I definitely think that should work. But now on their attack, they're bringing back that kind of chaos Genji Tracer, once again bringing Jules through, and they're going to be looking for Calero in the back line. This is something that has worked for them in the past, particularly when they do bring on a Doomfist. However, as they make the adjustment over to the Winston, that fact remains, right? I mean, they're still going to go for the back line. They're still going to try to push through. However, base tryhards with a little bit of a different answer. Liko on the McCree to be able to help ward them off alongside Dudu. The stuns are going to be there against the Suquinho Nation.
See how that change makes. By the way, 69 seconds was all it took for base tryhards to do their second push. So massive improvement as far as time. And they're going to scout out here, it looks like, for Suquinho Nation. They're going to go back and just make changes here, Heretics.
Yeah, they're going to make their adjustments quickly as they swap over. And I like this. This is going over to a more adjusted dive that's going to allow spacing for rank, and it's also going to allow a little bit of protection for Jules as he dives in, and they're going to need that against the double stun of Liko and Dudu.
They do still have the larger tank bank to work with, so they can still beat this time that was put out by base tryhards. It's one thing to consider here. Out comes the dive. Liko's forced off the high ground, and while that happens, Dudu falls at the beginning of the fight, and that's not good when you talk about the composition that they've had built. Oh, but Liko gets Nago Fist, though. What a headshot. He's able to get on this to at least get this fight even at the very least. Throws the flashbang out, and Wings will hit the left click to take Jules down. So the main tank down. Could spell disaster, but Delavigne, high charge, almost has himself a Graviton Surge as well, eliminates Liko, and they have control here, and they've almost got this first point. A couple more limbs, and they're going to try and snowball this one, and they're going to have a Graviton Surge to do it.
In these situations, Delavigne becomes the DPS again on the Zarya. You need to have that. The last time they won a map, it was versus Caverna, and it was off of the back of just empowering and enabling Delavigne. They're doing it once again, this time on a Zarya. He has the Graviton, looking for them all. Only gets, I think, 2.
It's all right. He does force out Transcendence is the one thing. Self-destruct too high in the air to be able to get anybody on the low ground. Only thing is, though, doesn't matter. Lubbock's still able to eliminate Dudu. Jules will blank Liko, and the Coalescence comes out here to keep everybody alive along with the Transcendence. So they're going to stay up on this point as they're trying to take this one. And it looks like it's just one player left alive for Suquinho Nation, and their time 4:02. So the time banks are so extremely close.
Not the best setup from the Suquinho Nation off of that grab and then dropping in the bomb. However, beautifully played and beautifully executed as well by Renkiyoshi, who came in off the Zen, or came in as the Zen, brought in the Transcendence, allowed the rest of his team to start getting that health, and they had the sustain then at that point to start going, once again, aggressive. They could start putting the foot on the gas pedal. They were able to easily just re-engage, and that was the big pivot moment for them to shift the momentum back into their favor, and they started looking as good as we're used to seeing them at that moment. So great play by Rankiyoshi to come up and really kind of make up the difference for the setup that they had initially. Now, once again, it's base tryhards behind in that time bank. Certainly it has lessened to some degree, but the Suquinho Nation looked phenomenal. I mean, they were able to get that done. They're down now to 402, still a massive time bank to have with 4-4 across the board. Base tryhards attacking. It looks like they're going to do the same thing here. Suquinho Nation have a moment to redeem themselves. Again, this is a composition that I think is going to work. They have the Ana to deal with the Moira. They can cancel out all the healing. They can also jump in. They can catch Wings off guard. They can punch Neil around. They can punch not really Liko around as much because he should be able to maintain his cooldowns for something like that. But that Sombra is going to be a problem. I think this is a decent composition to deal with the 3-3 Moira coming into this.
Have to just make sure you maintain your rotations together. That was one thing they didn't really do. They didn't jump in together. 1:37 was their time, by the way, on their attack, so not too bad as well. Not quite as good as 69 seconds, though, that's for sure. Looked for that opportunity to jump in, didn't find anything, but now it's just a matter of what do they do here with the team on the point in base tryhards? Where do they decide to try and jump in? Jules puts that bubble down at first tier, trying to just poke out onto Neil. He's pushed away by Lubbock. Lubbock close to falling, doesn't end up losing his life, though. Now looking for a chance. Oh, it was thinking of right-clicking in. Decides against it, though. Have one tick already on the point. Player falls from either side. It's Liko, so a lot of damage gone from the comp for base tryhards. Neil, though, gets blew up Lubbock as well. Delavigne, though, still available to build up to that. EMP is the only thing. Colero has the coalescence here that can be committed. Delavigne so close to falling, and chasing him down is Colero, and then coalesces onto the point to make sure that they're going to ensure control here. Suquinho Nation will have to go back to the drawing board.
I still think they should have kept the coalescence. I mean, it felt like they were winning already. Yeah. They also took Delavigne out, but nonetheless, they're going to be able to just ride this wave here straight into point B. They have 2:15 left. They have Neil coming up pretty close to an Earth Shatter. He hasn't been able to get much done with those so far. I mean, he's been hacked out left and right, so it's not really his fault. But if they can enable that Shatter, they can get this next point.
Honoratu on the high ground, finds his counterpart. Now spots out Jules in behind. Will force Jules away, has to put the bubble down, stays on the punt, but Lubbock able to get Colero down in the beginning of this fight. So no healing here. Lubbock charged away by Neil, but that's okay. He had a nano boost. He at least forced everybody back. Maybe didn't get as much out of that as he wanted to. He does have himself a meteor strike is the only thing, and an EMP is up as well.
Here's that re-engage. Oh, the EMP to set things up.
Self-destruct thrown in as well. Doesn't find anything thanks to the pillar. Everybody's able to stay alive for the side of base tryhards. Neil using his ultimate doesn't find enough, and Rankyoshi's able to transcendence through it. So ultimate's not working really for either side. Meteor strike though in, and Lubbock with Rankyoshi eliminates Neil. Liko, though, able to get Lubbock down, so there's still a chance here for base tryhards because they have the great use of the Graviton Surge after those ultimates come out. Looking towards the left side as there's a few players left alive. Self-destruct not in the best place, but that's okay because they still have control. 60 seconds left to go in the round. Lubbock being chased by Honoratu, charging back onto the point, kept alive by the ball from the Rankyoshi, but Colero has his coalescence that he throws out, and Jules can't get back onto the point in time. There's still time onto the clock for base tryhards.
Yeah, that the big thing there is, like you say, time on the clock. There is still opportunity for them to continue putting points on the board. 402 again for Suquinho Nation. A lot of time to work with, especially considering every time they go for an attack on average now, they're averaging about 2 minutes per attack. That is massive. They were even quicker on their last version. Base tryhards now looking like they're going to bring in just that straight Moira defense again. We talked a little bit about this at the beginning of the broadcast, and certainly we all as collectively talked about this as broadcasters to each other. What kind of compositions are we going to expect to see from base tryhards? Are they going to be more DPS centric? Are they going to be more goat centric? What are they going to look like? Seems as though it has been mostly plug and play, primarily Lucio that comes through from Wings, which is I guess in some regard to be expected. The only thing that I would point out is maybe some Ana play would be a little bit more nice, I think, in some of these compositions where you can play Zen Ana, but I think that's more something that you would expect to see on something like Hanamura. So perhaps when we get more looks at Wings, we'll be able to see that. However, again, base tryhards, they've looked very, very solid throughout this series, despite Suquinho Nation really giving them a run for their money.
2:19 was the time that it took for them to do their third attack. So Suquinho Nation can beat that and have a bigger time bank. 3:49 on the clock for them as they're looking here, seeing what's coming out from base tryhards. And what do after they scout out, after they do their rollout? They go and make the changes they think that are going to win them this fight. They're going to go with this Reinhardt-centric comp again in this 3-3.
I like this too. I mean, the impact is there. I mean, as the attacking team, you can control this kind of thing, and having the ability to control it and take advantage of that control, that's huge. Suquinho Nation adapting a lot better now than we saw in their first two maps.
Ran Kyoshi dealing damage out from above, has the healing going on to his Reinhardt, who's extremely close to falling. Liko's able to take Lubbock down, but Neil falls, so who's the bigger loss? The Brig or the main tank is the question here. Darkin just throwing out damage with those micro missiles, and now advancing forward is Jules, swinging his way into what's left, but he gets cleaved down by Dudu using that rocket flail. So the Brigitte making a difference here for the side of base tryhards. They do manage to get the mech gone as they're still in this fight, but Liko, dealing a ton of damage, is able to get this win for his team as they hold on to the point.
And just as Delavina was on their defense, Liko is now the problem on the Zarya. He is, or rather their attack before. Liko just is taking the resources allocated to him as Neil drops. They put everything they have into sustaining Liko primarily, and he just ran with that, maintaining that high energy. Now has another opportunity to continue that, and if he does, they'll have a grab to back things up.
And even though Jules was alive longer, he's even as far as ultimate charge goes for the Reinhardt. So these Earth Shatters will come online at basically the same time. Transcendence available here. Oh, Colero gets caught into it. Neil gets Lubbock down, though. Self-destruct missed some players. Transcendence back in, though, after Colero gets back up after the use of the ultimate. Suquinho Nation looks like they're starting to fall again. Darkin losing back here. Delavina is high charge, though. Neil still swinging away and cleaves Jules, and now his Earth Shatter will catch
good boop.
He gets booped away, but he comes back and swings into Ran Kyoshi, and they will still get the cleanup is the only thing. That was a nice boop, but it didn't do enough.
Now we have to wonder, can Wings help sustain through a Graviton? There's not going to be much follow-up other than just spamming away from Rankyoshi. Jules getting in there as well with the cleave. The sound barrier, along with the insta boost, the amp it up from Wings, they have to be able to have that be enough to sustain through the Graviton that's going to come from Delavina. Look for them to be very aggressive to start this fight, and base tryhards have to sustain through it. That is a big pick.
Massive loss at the beginning of the fight. Colero able to take his counterpart out in the Zen and Ran Kyoshi. So already back to their spawn goes Suquinho Nation, and there's only 60 seconds left.
Oh, man. Colero coming off of that huge pick is going to be that much closer to a Transcendence. And now all of a sudden it's not on Wings anymore. It's Colero can start kind of coming together and bringing up that sustain for the rest of his team. 38 seconds remaining. TSN has realistically one good shot, and they have two support ults to get through from base tryhards, and Liko will have a Graviton coming up of his own.
Jules will get his Earth Shatter up somewhere in this fight. Depending on how quickly he gets eliminated, they're able to block the Earth Shatter from Neil is the good thing here at the start. Charge finds nothing for Neil as well, but so high charges, Liko quickly throws out his Graviton on either side. Neither Gravitons find anything because of Transcendence that are both up. Negovist is going to get his beat up here eventually, but his team hasn't had anybody fall yet. It's the good thing. 2 seconds left to go. They have to make sure that they stay on to this point. Overtime meter is happening here. Colero gets Negofist before he gets a chance to get his beat. Huge loss here, and base tryhards is going to hold on. A great defense here on their third time through as they will go up and win this one 3-0. Huge win for them, showing that they are still the team to beat in South America.
Big impact play from Calero coming through there, though, with that massive pick onto Renkiyoshi, taking out his Zen counterpart and evening the tides for them and what could have been the last fight. I mean, epic level plays from them. They are coming in clutch left and right to be able to have the ability to just win these maps out that are otherwise so very close. Really good stuff that we're seeing from base tryhards. Again, a lot closer than what we expected. However, it's still base tryhards getting the result that they've been looking for. And that has been something, it's basically been the case for them in a lot of their matchups, you know, even back in season 2, where they're getting the 4-0s, but they are pretty close.
They are close, but I think the one thing to point out too for base tryhards right now, Heroix, is they're just going to get better as the season goes along. As this new roster really starts to get to know each other and coalesce. I mean, they haven't had much time to really integrate Wings into how they want to do comms. You know, maybe they're doing comms differently right now, but maybe they feel that Wings will be able to take a little bit of the load that Alamong used to have. I mean, that remains to be seen. And the calls they're making right now are clearly working anyways. So maybe they stay with however they've decided to structure communication as of right now. Some replays starting to be coming up here in just a second. But I mean, it was super impressive regardless from both sides. In Suquinho Nation, sure, they get the loss here, but they're still playing really tough.
Yeah, and I definitely don't want to take anything away from Suquinho Nation at all. I mean, they are definitely bouncing back from their loss against their tough loss to Caverna last week. Really tough position to be in, especially when you had so many eyes on you. Certainly everybody was looking at the Suquinho Nation to be the team to look at. They were supposed to be the team that was supposed to, you know, get second, third, or, you know, in this group. They were looking very good. Probably second in this group, actually. I mean, they were looking that good. With that level of expectation that was resting on their shoulders, it certainly hurts, and it's got to be tough to come away with a loss to Caverna, a team last season that was 0-5 with the absolute worst map differential, 5-17. Obviously, a lot can be said about Caverna's ability to bounce back themselves, but Suquinho Nation were put in a position where, you know, now a lot of that expectation is taken away. Maybe they're not as good as we thought they were, but now they're kind of coming back into stride, right? They're looking at playing a little bit more DPS centric. They're enabling Delavina and Lubak a lot more. That's something that worked out for them versus Caverna as well, where they did wind up bringing in Delavina on the McCree, and they just enabled him. They brought all the resources. They literally transed their McCree just to keep him alive in one fight. I mean, they didn't really put any focus on the Transcendence on anybody else but their McCree. So I'm definitely looking at seeing Suquinho Nation continue this going forward with the DPS-centric play, and we'll have to see if that's enough to maybe take a map off of base tryhards.
Yeah, that's something they can still do, is steal a map. We have map number 4 coming up here, but we're going to take a quick timeout before we get to that here on Broadcast.gg.
I can't see clearly anymore. I have no fear how this will end. No, nothing scares me anymore. If we never see tomorrow, babe. If we never make it through today. If we never see tomorrow, babe. I know that I lived how
Back here on Broadcast.gg, it's Labasco and Herix. We already know our winner is Base Tryhards, but we have one more map to play, and it is going to be Route 66, as Team Suquinho Nation will be attacking here first, and Delavigne is showing us a Pharah.
He is indeed. And on top of that, we also see Lubak on the Doomfist. That's big. Remember, Calero is on that Zenyatta, and that is a note to be taken down for sure, as they're going to be looking to get aggressive into that back line. They're going to have to keep Calero safe.
Almost seems like they were expecting them to hold up here too in that little cave, as well, as that's maybe why you keep everybody forced in there, and you can deal a lot of damage out on that Pharah. If you're Lubak, Neil uppercutted into the air, still alive though, keeping his shield up, throws a fire strike through that, manages to find two. So kind of at a standstill here is the cart. Trying to push it further, of course, is Suquinho Nation. Lubak looking for an opportunity to go back right in. He has all his cooldowns, and now he might see his opportunity. Now the fact that Dudu has fallen, as now they try to get down. Oh, Honoratu goes in front of Delavigne, who would have taken down the Lucio in wings, and now will commit the barrage, but is quickly taken down by the micro missiles of Honoratu. Only thing is, though, is everybody else is falling for Base Tryhards.
Oh, yeah, on top of that, I mean, primarily it's their supports going down here. They also get the res onto Delavigne, so he comes back in, and now Suquinho Nation have not only won the fight, but they have restabilized as well, ready and poised to take a fight against Base Tryhards should they go for a re-engage, a recontest onto the point here before we see this close out this first objective. Now, coming through the cave, here they are.
Fun fact, neither of these teams have been to another map yet as far as this map type in Escort Gauls. Rankyoshi is going to use his ult here, but Neil's going to be able to fire strike Lubak out of the fight, and self-destruct will find Delavigne. So this Valkyrie kind of going to waste here as everybody's falling for Suquinho Nation. Rankyoshi just going to try and take out the Zen. He does, but will lose his life as a result of it.
And that's why Calero is in trouble, because not only is it a problem that they're diving him with, 2 DPS pointed at him, and Jules, of course, going at him, Darken going at him, but now you have to also worry about a Mercy, right? That's just icing on the cake. That's just really difficult to deal with, as Jules makes a swap over to the Hammond. This is actually a really good map for Hammond, particularly defensively, but you can make it work offensively as well, as you can use the side walls of the map to really get some high verticality going for yourself.
Cruel and unusual punishment was, that's for sure. Neil, though, punishing with his hammer himself, and gets Negofist the Ana, rally out by Dudu to give everybody that extra armor as they push their way onto the point to make sure it doesn't get to the end. Self-destruct, though, will take Neil down. Lubak looking for Liko here. Liko going to bash into a wall and see himself fall. Went down as he eliminated himself. That was definitely Lubak's limb.
Yeah, we're going to see, look for a reset on Lubak, and he can get the health there from the Mercy, and Base Tryhards trying to come back together and collate behind the objective, as Delavigne punishing them as they go into the cave. Honoratu really needs to enable their ability to get out of that cave and back out into the open.
Makes it a little easier to land those direct rockets. Liko so close to falling, tries to send him away using that boop. Couldn't get him, though, so Neil not able to fell anyone here. Darken, though, manages to find wings, and he thought he was hidden from the self-destruct, but Honoratu's able to still get Delavigne. Rankyoshi with the brave res, able to get him back into this fight, but at the cost of his own life.
And at the cost of more ult charge for the opposing side, and particularly Honoratu, who just got off a massive play with the self-destruct. Suquinho Nation coming back in. I don't expect them to make any adjustments more than they already have, obviously, with Jules, but re-engaging, trying to get aggressive, jumping into Calero. They don't even get to the point!
They couldn't get there! I saw the wrecking ball. I thought he was going to have a chance. He got caught up, I think, on Big Earl Sign. So they don't even get a touch. They don't even get the first point here. Suquinho Nation, such a tough end to their attack.
And we saw as well that Suquinho Nation, there was a moment last week where they just started to kind of fold in on themselves, right? Seems like we've kind of hit that mark where, it seems as though, even back on Horizon Lunar Colony, that was a very winnable scenario for them. They set a great time. They had, a pretty solid composition defensively, at least in my opinion. Certainly there is an argument to be had there, I think, because I do see both sides where it can be difficult to play that on Horizon Lunar Colony, with against a 3-3, particularly involving a Moira. However, I think that they had a pretty good shot there. They let it go. It seems like things are quickly kind of just falling through their fingertips right now very rapidly, and they are essentially just sinking into quicksand. The more that they struggle, the more tough it looks for them. However, base tryhards now on the attack. Expect them to look very aggressive. This could be closed out in about 2 minutes for sure with the way that these two teams are looking right now.
And we're going to have aggressive Overwatch Open Division coverage here for you on Broadcast.gg. This is the entry-level program for aspiring professionals. It's a proving grounds where players will test their strengths as teammates. Games begin December 8th, so be sure to catch the action. It's going to be here on Broadcast.gg and on Broadcast.gg too as well. So don't miss any of that, because those are players trying to get to where we're at right now and not to have the same things happen that Suquinho Nation had there at the end. But they're going with Labak here on that Soldier 76, like you said, and that they're looking for that full hold if they can do it.
They have to do it. I mean, if they don't do that, they're going to take another really, really tough loss. And in this group stage, you can't have these losses at all if you want to make it to the playoffs. That's a lot of quick kills coming out for base tryhards. Again, looking very, very aggressive, as we talked about, and just picking apart the backline of Suquinho Nation, who are very spread out right now and not looking like they're doing much with that.
It's definitely not going their way, but they will have another chance to recontest here. Darken gets spotted out, though, by Honoratu. Has to be careful. Lubbock's able to save his life, and they're able to get the mech here of Honoratu. So maybe Honoratu a little bit too much playing by himself there could cost them in this next fight.
Yeah, not being able to really do much against Lubbock and Darken and Delavina. I mean, he was the main person who could deal with that with the defense matrix. Now they won't have that at their disposal just yet.
And Darken's able to find the back line in wings. Dudu, though, will take down Delavine. So still even fight. Rain Kyoshi, though, gets that baby diva down and out. So it looks like base tryhards is just going to regroup, try and not give any more ult charge to Suquinho Nation.
In the meantime, Liko generating that energy level, getting it very high. That's going to be something to look at. Suquinho Nation, obviously, again, very scattered around, so they're not going to have a 6-man anytime soon. But as this point gets closer to the end here, they will have to contest.
Throw out the pulse bomb, doesn't find anything and is quickly taken down, but they have the other ultimates in behind to try and get these limbs out. So close to getting to that golden box too, but Lubbock using that visor, able to get a lot of that all charge back to already almost up to 20%.
Certainly the brightest point of TSN has been their DPS play, and they've really kind of leaned on them for a lot of these plays where they do come out ahead. However, now base tryhards are very much in the driver's seat. We're going to see them again looking very aggressive. They have the weapons. They have the ability to just get these kills quickly. It should be over right here.
Looking to bully their way back onto the card. Have Transcendence available here. Keep wings up, as he's extremely close to his sound barrier as well. Card's starting to inch closer. Lubbock down early in the fight. Could be all that's needed to spell disaster. And Neil just continuing to diving in. And now they go right into that Graviton Surge. Get those last few eliminations. And the golden box. Easy for them to get another 4-0 victory for base tryhards. They've only lost 4 maps over all of Contenders in the 3 seasons that they've played. They won't lose their 5th one, at least today.
And looking poised to continue that streak that they had last season where, yes, they did have 1 map loss, but they went on a very, very tough streak all the way through after that. They might be able to go ahead and have the opportunity to once again be able to get that, straight lossless streak. That's something that they're looking at being able to accomplish, especially now that they aren't under that BGH umbrella. Now as base tryhards, I think that would be a bold statement for them to make coming into season 3, where it's obviously heavily contested. As we go along with the new seasons and everything, it seems like South America is getting, the competition is getting tighter and tighter. However, base tryhards continue and consistently look as good compared to the rest of the competition as they ever do.
Yeah, they definitely set the pace for South America. There's no doubt about that. And who sets the pace for our desk is Green Havoc. So go ahead, take it away and break it down.
All right. Wow. Well, I definitely have a happy analyst here. LaFawn, you went for the 4-0 and you got it. The 3-1 looked possible on Lunar Colony, and then after that fell apart, well, I think most of what TSN wanted fell apart there as well. But let's break down these final two maps, because we definitely saw some good looks from TSN, especially on Lunar Colony. Obviously, again, they did fall off towards the end, but it wasn't all bad. And in fact, you were picking out a few players who were definitely some highlight worthy at the very least, Labasco. So can you walk us through, LaFawn, if you could walk us through some of those thoughts?
I mean, I'll take being called Labasco any day. Handsome caster, very good with words. I'll take it. One of the things, though, back to the analysis of this, though, is that, I was actually kind of impressed with TSN. I did call 4-0 for BTH, but I did say there were moments where TSN were impressing me, and that was the case. I mean, aside from Route 66, which was kind of shaky, they just weren't able to really control the ult economy throughout the later stage of that map. So for TSN, that was a bit of a struggle. But the rest of the time, I'm actually really impressed with the sheer potential that TSN has. This is the team that I was talking after week 1, that to be sort of the team to kind of keep an eye out in this group. They're not ready to contest BTH yet, and we saw that today, obviously. But one of the things that was really cool about that is that the difference between these two teams, I don't think, is skill level. I think it's coordination and like almost cleanliness and execution. For BTH, though, this is probably the best matchup you could have asked for this particular day. You lose Alamong, you have to bring Wings in, and this is probably the best matchup to actually get him into gameplay and be like, yo, this is what you're up against. Welcome to the jungle, essentially. This is the gameplay is just absolutely amazing. I think he started off kind of shaky on the first map, and then throughout the later stages, it was just smooth sailing. So I think for Wings, this is probably the best start point you can get for Contenders, in my opinion.
I totally agree to that. There was a level of consistency that the tryhards brought over TSN, and so I think that's really what won it out. We saw both teams, kind of have some ult combos not quite hit home. We had both teams making big plays, but it was just, at the end of the day, it was the tryhards making just those inches better, and that just comes from the consistency. And Nauri, walk us through some of your opinions of these final two maps, especially what we saw on that Horizon Lunar Colony.
Horizon was spicy. We were calling it an 8 CP, and it very nearly was, close enough. Really good matchups from both sides. And again, we saw the same thing from Suquinho that we've been seeing the whole time. They win these epic fights. That first attack of theirs, where they just completely snowballed, in the words of LaFawn, straight through to second point, won it out, easy peasy, swap sides. We see the exact same thing, back and forth. And then we saw them coming out on attack with a strange composition. And I say strange, not in the sense that it was the first time that they'd run it in this match, but in the sense that they had run it on their first attack as well. And it didn't work for them then, and clearly it didn't work for them on the third attack either. They were not able to get onto point, and they had all the time in the world. There was so much time there, and they just weren't able to capitalize on it. They tried so hard. But I felt like, again, they improved so much from map to map. Unfortunately, then we got onto Route 6, and they hit a wall. They hit a massive wall there. And I think at that point, you've lost 3 maps, you're onto your map, and it's just like, you feel like, okay, it's over now. We'll try. But I think that maybe they just got a little bit disheartened at the end there. What I will say, somebody that stood out for me this whole series has been Luke. The last couple of weeks, we've been talking a lot about Delavigne, and for me, I feel like Lubok really shone today. He stood up and he was like, notice me. Like, here I am, I'm gonna do things. And he really did. He at certain moments, he actually outshone Delavigne a lot. So I was really impressed with that.
Well, on that note, LaFawn, was there a player that really impressed you for the day?
BTH as a whole? No, but seriously though, the fact of the matter is, I think Lubok was impressive. This was a player that I wasn't really that impressed with last week. It almost seemed like he was in his own head in terms of his gameplay, which was kind of surprising considering what I've seen from him in the last 2 seasons. I think Lubok did step up today, even though they did take the 0-4 in this matchup. But again, you got to talk about the new player coming in, and as a result, the rest of the team, I think that BTH did an excellent job helping Wings just show up in terms of the gameplay. And so for that reason, the tank line for BTH was very impressive. Honorato and Neil, both stellar tanks in their own right. And on the whole, they made the day really, really easy for their support line. And it showed up in the scoreline. So BTH tank line doing really, really well, as always.
And really, that's what you need, especially with those moving parts. You need that tank line to be solid, and that's what they did. Just like you were saying, they allowed for that team to play the way that that team wants to play. Now, they had few vulnerabilities, and TSN ultimately gave them a pretty good test in a few of the maps, and especially some of those fights. They're going to want to rewatch that Nimbani final for TSN's attack to see what they did wrong there. But for the most part, you're right. That tank line gave them the security they needed to walk this to a confident 4-0 win, which is big, even if you are used to winning. So I'm sure they're happy about that. And we are about done with this desk, so I'm going to go ahead and ask my analysts here if there's any final things they want to say on this game before we get on out of here before the next game starts.
I want to see BTH finish this season with no maps dropped. I actually really, really want to see that, and I think they have the time to do it.
I just want to see TSN doing so much better and performing the way that we know that they can. In a struggle match for them, but they've performed exceptionally well, and I want to see them in the playoffs and ultimately the final.
All right, well, that does wrap it up. We'll be back in a little bit for Quad Gaming versus Predators, but until then, we're going to send it to a quick break. So a thank you to the producer, thank you to our casters, and we'll see you soon.